COVID. The cook, as I said, sparring partners. So we had no other alternative to postpone the fight. Now, look, best case with COVID, if you get it, and it's not major life-threatening, might knock you out for a week. This week that occurred we're into the third, 3 more weeks to go for the fight. And that meant that we would knock out that week. Certainly couldn't train that week. And we would hope that maybe he could start training the week before the fight. But that's not good, because the week of the fight, you don't really train, you do all the publicity. So Tyson wouldn't have been ready to fight, and that's why it was postponed.
Those are the words of Bob Arum as he states the reason why the fight was postponed from July 24th, the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3, to postponed to the 9th of October. Let me counterpunch. As you heard Bob Arum say that the reason why it was postponed was simply because he wouldn't have had enough time to train. Okay. Here's the only problem with that. The problem was the 16th of July, he tested negative. So either it was out of his system by then and he could have trained then, and he's saying he wouldn't have had enough time to train, made like he hadn't had all this fucking time to train. He hasn't fought in forever, and Tyson Fury trains every day. And in fact, he was training for Anthony Joshua before even fighting Deontay Wilder, even supposedly knowing that he was fighting Deontay Wilder, right? So why didn't he have enough time, right? So, and here's the thing. As you heard him say earlier in this interview, he was saying that, hey, well, they have to report to the Nevada Athletic Commission to take their test. And what was weird about that was, okay, if they tested positive, it was an outbreak in their camp. No one was acting like they were sick. We see no one in a bubble, like this is a bubble. We see nothing like that. We see no interaction from someone that was in their room quarantining like they supposed to. We see none of that. At least get insight on Parker, Lee, whoever else was there with Tyson Fury and his team that could speak on the corona test, the COVID-19. Okay, so you guys can understand, and so I can't argue with anybody that says, you know what, I don't believe that corona shit at all. You can't argue with them because no one took the proper steps to even convince us that that was the case. And to say, oh, well, Tyson Fury wouldn't have been ready. I mean, well, what do you mean? It was the 16th. Yeah, the 16th to the 24th, that left 2 weeks. He could have done it the week before, on top of all the other fucking weeks that he was supposed to have been training. Okay? He's supposed to have been training for that particular time. He's supposed to have been, preparing for a fight before that fight. So now you're saying, well, hey, he wasn't ready. Okay? The only thing I will add with that is, if Tyson Fury had COVID and he had a light strain or a light reaction to COVID, like I have, and I'm pretty proud to say as of now, right? You don't want any excuses, because he goes in there and gets knocked out. The first thing everybody will say, well, he's another Povetkin. Povetkin came in there half cocked because we could tell he wasn't the way he's supposed to be. When he fought Dillian White the second time, he was nothing where he was the first fight. And he was just coming back for COVID. And I think in that situation, they really pushed him out there because that fight had already been postponed. I know. And since it had been postponed, they kind of forced Povetkin's hand and made him pretty much fight when I don't really think he was ready to fight based on his performance. You know what I mean? His body language, the way he was fighting, it was like a drunken man. He was disorientated, and I can relate to what people go through COVID, okay? Because I'm going through it right now again. And what it is like if you make subtle movements, you can kind of feel yourself like you're not there. It's almost like you feel off balance or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have an earache or an ear infection or whatever. Things are kind of cloudy. You're kind of confused on a lot of times. I've done some shit, made some mistakes, and you know what I mean, looking at something and then kind of miscalculated it. Those are the type of things happen when you have COVID. So if that's what Tyson Fury was going through, now I definitely understand. But what Bob Arum's saying doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Just said he wasn't prepared and he needed the time to prepare. But then Tyson Fury will say some shit like, oh, well, I've been fighting and boxing and ready and preparing all year for this Dulce. You know, that type of shit. Well, okay. Please act like you have COVID. You know, that's my counterpunch to that. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Bob Arum saying that there wasn't enough time due to the COVID to make the fight in time for the 24th. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.